The Quantum Cure, a journey into the science of healing energy. Presented by the Still Mind Studios, where science meets the soul. What if quantum physics holds the secret to how your body heals itself? In a world where fatigue has become the background hum of daily life, where stress seems encoded into our DNA, we often find ourselves chasing relief in all the wrong places. We try to fix, to medicate, to control. Yet beneath the noise, beneath the prescriptions and the progress, lies a quieter truth, one that modern science is only beginning to rediscover. Healing, in its truest sense, may not come from the outside in, but from the inside out. Imagine for a moment that every cell in your body hums with intelligence, a subtle conversation of light, vibration, and consciousness. This is the frontier that the Quantum Cure invites you to explore, a place where science and spirituality no longer stand apart but merge into a single story about what it means to be alive, aware, and capable of transformation. You don't need a lab coat or a mantra to join this exploration. You simply need curiosity. Because this journey isn't just about theories, it's about you. It's about the way your body responds when your mind shifts, the way your emotions alter your chemistry, and the way intention itself might be the most profound medicine of all. The book begins with a reminder that most of us live disconnected from nature, from our bodies, and even from our own energy. We've learned to silence the whispers of intuition in favor of external authority. But what if your body has been speaking the truth all along? What if every ache, every illness, every anxiety is not a malfunction but a message, a coded signal urging you back into balance? The author calls this alignment a realignment of awareness. Instead of pushing harder to heal, we open deeper. The invitation is not to chase perfection, but to reconnect with the intelligence already alive within you, the energy field that science now measures and mystics have always described. Here begins the central question of the book. Can consciousness itself be the missing link in healing? From this foundation, the Quantum Cure moves into the first great convergence, the dance of science and spirituality. For centuries, these two realms were seen as opposites, one rooted in data, the other in faith. But now, at the edges of neuroscience and quantum physics, their boundaries blur. We are starting to see that the very act of observation, of awareness, changes what is observed. In other words, consciousness doesn't just witness reality. It shapes it. This shift challenges our assumptions about the body. We've been taught to view healing as mechanical, a process of cause and effect. But if the mind and matter are interconnected, then thought, emotion, and energy are not secondary. They are central. Meditation, once dismissed as mysticism, is now shown to reshape neural pathways. Compassion changes heart rhythm variability. Intention influences immune response. The invisible is beginning to show its signature in the measurable. Within this framework, the book introduces the reader to what it calls the bridge of consciousness. Consciousness is not limited to neurons firing inside a skull. It may be a field, a living matrix in which all things exist. Each thought becomes a pulse in that field. Each emotion, a vibration that interacts with others. To heal, then, is to tune, just as an instrument returns to harmony when each string finds resonance with the whole. Science, of course, demands evidence, and the author doesn't shy away from that challenge. Throughout the first chapters, the Quantum Cure references the growing body of research that confirms how perception alters biology. Studies on neuroplasticity show that the brain rewires itself according to focus and belief. Psychoneuroimmunology reveals that thoughts can enhance or weaken immunity. And in the quantum world, particles respond differently depending on whether they're being observed, suggesting that consciousness participates in reality's unfolding. The implication is staggering. What we call reality is not fixed. It is participatory. Healing, therefore, is not a passive act but a creative collaboration between mind, body, and energy. This doesn't mean abandoning medicine. It means expanding it, recognizing that pills and surgeries work best when aligned with intention and awareness. Healing becomes not just a medical outcome, but a conscious evolution. The narrative continues by weaving in personal reflection. The author asks, how often do we pause to truly listen to our own inner experience? The body speaks in sensations, intuition, and rhythm. When we numb these messages, through distraction, stress, or constant stimulation, we silence the wisdom that keeps us whole. Spiritual traditions have long taught that awareness heals. Science is now catching up to explain why. In these early explorations, the quantum cure portrays healing as an act of remembering the unity between thought and matter, observer and observed, spirit and cell. It proposes that energy healing, meditation, and prayer may all be facets of the same underlying principle, that consciousness, when directed with intention, alters physical reality. The next major theme deepens this understanding through the concept of conscious participation. When you focus on gratitude, your nervous system enters coherence. When you dwell in fear, it fragments. The brain doesn't merely react to life, it codes life through perception. Every memory you hold is not static, it is an electrical pattern, malleable and responsive to your focus. Thus, awareness itself becomes a technology. By learning to direct consciousness, you reprogram the biological interface of your being. The book then journeys through the growing frontier of neuroscience, where scientists are mapping the brain's involvement in conscious experience. The prefrontal cortex, for instance, integrates information from all sensory channels to form a unified sense of self. The thalamus acts as a gateway between perception and awareness. The reticular activating system determines wakefulness, bridging consciousness, and the physical body. Yet for all these advances, there remains a mystery, the hard problem of consciousness. Why do neural firings produce experience at all? How does electricity in the brain translate into the feeling of love, or the color red, or the ache of loss? This mystery, unsolved by science, opens the doorway to the quantum. Here, the book moves gracefully into its namesake realm, the quantum mind. The suggestion is not that the brain is a computer, but a quantum system, capable of coherence, entanglement, and influence beyond the physical boundaries of neurons. Within this framework, consciousness might not emerge from the brain but express through it, just as light passes through glass. The body is the instrument, consciousness the musician. Quantum physics has revealed that matter behaves differently when observed, that particles separated by distance can remain mysteriously connected, and that reality exists in probabilities until attention collapses it into form. The metaphor is profound. Every intention you hold may be a collapse of possibility into reality. Healing becomes a quantum act, the alignment of awareness that alters probability toward wholeness. To illustrate this, the quantum cure recounts stories of transformation. People who recovered from chronic illness after cultivating meditation or energy practices. Patients whose pain subsided when they changed their emotional state. Even spontaneous remissions, often dismissed as anomalies, are reconsidered as evidence of the body's latent intelligence. These stories are not presented as miracles, but as demonstrations of potential, examples of how consciousness and biology dance together in ways we are only beginning to comprehend. As the narrative unfolds, it draws connections between energy and matter, suggesting that at the subatomic level, all is vibration. Your thoughts, emotions, and physical structures share the same quantum substrate. To heal is to harmonize the frequency of mind and body, allowing energy to flow without resistance. Ancient traditions spoke of this as chi, prana, or life force. Science now observes it as electromagnetic resonance, cellular communication, or quantum coherence. The language differs, but the truth remains. By now, the reader begins to sense that this is not just a theory of healing, it is a philosophy of being. The boundaries between disciplines dissolve. Psychology becomes neurochemistry becomes quantum vibration, and all of it points toward one essence, conscious energy. The author emphasizes that belief is not fantasy. It is formative. Every belief sends instructions to your cells. Doubt contracts the field. Faith expands it. This is not superstition, it is psychophysiology. When you believe you can heal, the brain releases signals that guide the body toward repair. At this point, The quantum cure pauses to remind the listener that this journey is not about rejecting science or glorifying spirituality. It's about integrating both. Healing happens in the space where reason meets reverence, where data meets devotion. To understand this is to recognize that the universe itself may be conscious, and that you, as part of it, are both observer and participant in an ever-evolving symphony of energy. The chapters conclude this section with a reflection. Healing begins not with control, but with surrender. When you stop fighting symptoms and start listening to their message, you engage in quantum dialogue with your body. Every sensation, every emotion, is information, data from the field of consciousness guiding you toward alignment. In this sense, healing becomes an art of listening as much as an act of doing. As Part 1 draws toward its transition, the book lays the groundwork for deeper exploration. The role of intention, the mechanisms of energy healing, and the interplay between consciousness and the placebo effect, all to come in later chapters. But here, the foundation is clear. You are not a machine to be fixed. You are a field of awareness that can evolve. Science is beginning to confirm what sages always knew. When the mind awakens to its creative power, the body follows. Healing, then, is not the discovery of something new. It is the remembering of what you already are.
Take a deep breath.
This is the threshold, the point where science meets spirit and awareness becomes medicine. As the next part of this journey unfolds, we will dive deeper into energy itself, the frequencies that form your being, and the quantum dance through which life heals itself from within. Energy. The word itself hums with possibility. It is the invisible current beneath every heartbeat, every thought, every choice. We sense it when we walk into a room and feel either uplifted or uneasy, when music changes our mood, when a kind glance restores our faith. Yet for centuries we have treated energy as metaphor, not mechanism. The new science whispers otherwise. Energy is information in motion, and information is what organizes life. The human body is not a collection of parts but a concert of frequencies. Each cell emits tiny pulses of light. Each organ vibrates in its own signature tone. When those tones harmonize, we call it health. When they fall out of tune, we call it disease. The quantum cure invites us to imagine healing not as fixing broken machinery, but as restoring lost music. The healer, then, is not a mechanic but a tuner, and consciousness is the hand that turns the peg. At the subatomic level, nothing stands still. Electrons flicker in and out of existence. Particles trade places across time and space. The universe is a shimmering field of probability until awareness gives it shape. The same principle that collapses a photon's wave function may also influence the alignment of your molecules. Observation is participation. To notice is to nudge reality. That single insight reframes the entire question of health. Perhaps the body heals best when consciousness looks upon it with clarity rather than fear. The book describes the energy field of the body as a dynamic interface between matter and mind. Signals flow through it faster than through nerves, guiding cellular behavior before chemistry catches up. When emotion surges, grief, anger, love, the field ripples. The heart emits measurable electromagnetic waves that extend beyond the skin, broadcasting feeling into space. When those waves are coherent, other systems entrain to them. A calm heart can steady a chaotic brain. Peace is contagious. Here arises the principle of resonance. Everything vibrates like attracts like. When two frequencies match, energy transfers with ease. In practical terms, this means that a balanced, compassionate consciousness can draw an imbalanced system toward harmony simply by being present. Ancient healers called this laying on of hands. Modern physics calls it synchronization of fields. Either way, intention acts as carrier wave. The mind focuses, the field aligns, and biology responds. Skeptics ask, how could thought influence tissue? The answer may lie in quantum coherence. Within each cell, molecules communicate through subtle electromagnetic signals. When stress fragments those signals, processes misfire. But under meditation, gratitude, or gentle touch, coherence returns. measured as rhythmic patterns in heart rate, brain waves, even gene expression. Energy healing, then, is not magic, it is resonance restored. The book illustrates this with the metaphor of water. Water is the medium of life, capable of storing information through molecular arrangement. Just as sound can sculpt sand into geometric shapes, intention can imprint order into water, and you are mostly water. When emotion floods you with chaos, your internal rivers churn. When you breathe with awareness, the turbulence settles, clarity returns, and energy once again flows where it is needed. From here, the quantum cure turns to intention itself, the quiet architect of reality. Intention is more than wishful thinking. It is consciousness directed with feeling. Thought provides the blueprint, emotion provides the fuel. Together they become electromagnetic command. The moment you imagine wellness and feel gratitude as if it were already true, your nervous system begins coding that pattern as reality. Hormones shift, immune markers rise, pain signals fade. The body listens to the mind's most convincing story. This phenomenon has been glimpsed for decades in what medicine calls the placebo effect. A sugar pill, imbued with belief, triggers genuine physiological repair. But placebo is simply the clinical name for mind-induced coherence. If expectation alone can mobilize healing cascades, then belief is not illusion. It is ignition. The so-called nocebo effect reveals the opposite. Fear and doubt can sabotage recovery. Every thought carries chemical consequences. The implication is profound. Consciousness is the first medicine. Every external treatment, surgery, drug, or supplement, operates through the same channel of meaning. When you trust the process, your inner pharmacy activates. When you resist or despair, it closes. Energy healing amplifies this natural responsiveness by training awareness to broadcast coherence intentionally rather than by accident. The author describes a practice called coherent attention, focusing on a desired outcome while sustaining elevated emotion. Picture your cells bathed in light, not as fantasy, but as instruction. Gratitude, joy, compassion, these are not soft sentiments, they are frequencies that reorganize matter. The heart's field becomes more ordered, the brain's hemispheres synchronize, biochemical cascades follow suit. Healing begins as alignment, not effort. Still, the quantum cure insists that true mastery arises from humility. Energy cannot be forced, it must be invited. The ego wants to command results, but the field responds to coherence, not control. The moment you surrender the struggle to make healing happen, you create space for it to unfold. This paradox, effort through ease, mirrors the quantum principle that observation without attachment yields the clearest outcome. The narrative shifts to the biological stage. Within the body, trillions of cells act like a networked intelligence. Each cell's membrane functions as antenna, translating vibrational information into chemical response. When the broadcast from consciousness is static, anxiety, resentment, guilt, cells misread the message. When the signal is clear, acceptance, trust, love, they thrive. Genes express differently, proteins fold correctly, immune cells patrol efficiently. The body heals because the message of harmony finally reaches its listeners. Energy healing, then, is education for the cells. It reminds them of their original design. Modern medicine excels at crisis intervention, but energy awareness teaches maintenance. The art of keeping the field coherent so disease never gains momentum. The author likens this to tuning an instrument daily rather than waiting for it to break. A lifestyle of coherence becomes preventive quantum medicine. The text then returns to the mystery of consciousness itself. If awareness can heal the body, could the body also influence awareness? The feedback is circular. As biology stabilizes, consciousness expands. As consciousness expands, biology stabilizes further. This spiral of reciprocity is the essence of evolution. Healing and awakening are not separate journeys. They are the same motion in opposite directions. To demonstrate, the book describes a sequence of meditative experiments, focusing attention on the heart, feeling compassion until warmth radiates outward, then expanding that feeling to include the entire body. Participants report sensations of light, spaciousness, even dissolving boundaries. Instruments record measurable coherence. In that state, pain subsides, anxiety dissolves, creativity ignites. The organism remembers itself as energy in flow. This is the quantum cure, not a single technique, but a state of alignment where intention, emotion, and physiology converge. It is a return to original frequency. The healer and the healed are one awareness recognizing itself from two perspectives. The narrative warns against idolizing any particular method. Energy modalities, Reiki, sound baths, biofield therapy, breath work, are gateways, not destinations. They help the nervous system sample coherence so it can recreate it spontaneously. Once you taste alignment, your body learns the recipe. In one section, the author compares energy healing to sunlight through stained glass. Each practice filters the same light through different colors, cultural language, ritual, and symbol, but the radiance is universal. The quantum field responds not to labels but to vibration. Whether you pray, meditate, chant, or visualize, the essence is the same. Focused awareness infused with feeling. As the chapter deepens, the quantum cure explores the collective dimension of energy. When groups meditate together, their fields merge into larger coherence patterns detectable in surrounding space. Crime rates drop, conflict eases, hospitals see fewer emergencies. The evidence may seem anecdotal, yet the pattern persists. Harmony within one system radiates outward. Healing is social physics. The book also acknowledges shadow. Unresolved trauma, suppressed emotion, and chronic stress distort the field. Energy healing is not escapism, it is confrontation through compassion. When you bring gentle attention to pain, the vibration of awareness transforms it. What was frozen begins to move. What was fragmented becomes whole. This is why many people cry or tremble during deep sessions. The body is recalibrating to truth. From here, the narrative builds toward its inspirational ascent. The author reminds us that the quantum field does not discriminate. It mirrors the dominant frequency we offer. If we broadcast gratitude, life echoes it. If we broadcast fear, it echoes that too. The choice is continual, moment by moment. Healing, therefore, is a practice of tuning, of choosing coherence again and again until it becomes natural. Each morning becomes an experiment. How does consciousness create today? Each breath, an opportunity to recalibrate the field. Every act of kindness, every thought of appreciation, becomes quantum medicine shared with the world. The cure is not reserved for mystics. It is the birthright of awareness itself. Healing, the book reminds us, is not a solitary act. Every shift in consciousness ripples through the field of humanity. The frequencies we cultivate within ourselves become part of the invisible atmosphere shared by all. When one person learns to calm their fear, to radiate compassion instead of judgment, that subtle energy becomes a contribution to the collective resonance of the planet. Modern physics calls this entanglement. Ancient mystics called it oneness. Different words, same truth. We are not separate fragments floating through space. We are interconnected expressions of the same field. When you heal, the universe heals with you. The author describes a vision of global coherence, millions of human hearts synchronizing in compassion, forming a network of resonance strong enough to shift probabilities toward peace. This isn't metaphor. Instruments have measured fluctuations in the Earth's magnetic field during collective meditations and moments of mass empathy. Consciousness, it seems, is not confined to skulls. It is planetary. From this understanding arises a new ethic of responsibility. If every thought and feeling contributes to the quantum field, then every moment of awareness becomes sacred. The energy you offer the world is creative currency. To live consciously is to engage in continuous co-creation. The world you perceive is the world you are helping to project. And yet, the book is gentle. It doesn't demand perfection. It invites participation. Healing is not about never falling into fear again. It's about returning faster to coherence. It's about catching yourself mid-thought, mid-reaction, and choosing love instead. The shift may seem small, but in the quantum field, small adjustments cascade into vast effects. Here the narrative turns poetic. Imagine the body as an instrument of light, each cell a prism bending universal energy into color. When you think, you tune the strings. When you feel, you add melody. When you act with kindness, you amplify the resonance. The more harmonious your inner music, the more beautiful the collective song. The quantum cure teaches that consciousness is both individual and universal. It is the sea and the drop at once. You are not a passive passenger in the cosmos. You are one of its conscious limbs. Every breath, every heartbeat, participates in shaping the unfolding design of existence. Healing becomes less about survival and more about artistry, the art of living in alignment with the frequency of creation itself. As the book nears its close, it poses the question that underlies all others. What is health? Is it the absence of disease, or the presence of wholeness? The answer, it suggests, is the latter. Health is coherence, the seamless flow of information between body, mind, and field. It is the realization that everything you need to heal is already encoded within you. The task is not to acquire, but to awaken. The new medicine that emerges from this understanding is neither mechanical nor mystical. It is integrative. It honors technology and touch, chemistry and consciousness. The doctor of the future will prescribe meditation as readily as medication, and will see the human not as a machine to be repaired, but as an orchestra to be tuned. The book imagines hospitals infused with coherence, rooms designed around frequency, light, and sound. Physicians trained to regulate their own energy before entering to treat others. Healing environments where science and soul collaborate. It's not fantasy, it's an evolution already beginning. The final chapters invite readers to become explorers of their own field. Start simply, they say. Sit quietly. Feel your breath move in and out. Notice that the observer, the one aware of breathing, is not separate from the breath itself. This is consciousness realizing itself through sensation. The more you rest in that awareness, the more your energy field organizes.
Calm spreads.
Cells respond. Healing begins in the moment awareness becomes unconditional. In this silence, something ancient awakens, the understanding that the universe is friendly, intelligent, responsive. The same intelligence that spins galaxies also beats your heart. When you trust that rhythm, resistance dissolves. Life no longer feels like something happening to you. It becomes something happening through you. The quantum cure ends not with conclusion, but with invitation. It asks you to become a scientist of your own consciousness, to test, observe, and experience directly the power that thought, emotion, and intention hold over reality. It doesn't demand belief. It encourages experiment. Each moment you choose coherence, you are conducting research in the greatest laboratory of all, your own life. The final insight is as simple as it is revolutionary. You are the medicine. Not in a metaphorical sense, but literally. Your thoughts are biochemical messengers. Your emotions are electromagnetic waves. Your consciousness is quantum code, instructing the body how to behave. Every heartbeat carries data to the universe, and the universe responds in kind. The more love you generate, the more intelligence the system expresses. The more gratitude you feel, the more synchronized your biology becomes. When the observer and the observed fall into harmony, healing ceases to be a process. It becomes a presence. And so, the book closes where it began, with wonder. What if quantum physics holds the secret to how your body heals itself? Perhaps it always has. Perhaps the secret was never hidden at all. It was merely waiting for awareness to look inward instead of outward, to recognize that the cure is not something we find, but something we remember. You are the field. You are the frequency. You are the consciousness through which the universe heals itself. The moment you choose coherence, you are already participating in that cosmic restoration.
Breathe.
Feel your heartbeat as the rhythm of the stars. This is the quantum cure. So now take a moment. Sit quietly as the last words fade. The air around you is alive with possibility. The same particles that carry sunlight also carry intention. Your next thought will ripple through the field, touching lives you may never meet. That is your power. That is your responsibility. Healing is not a miracle reserved for the gifted. It is the birthright of consciousness itself. When you align with that truth, you become both scientist and mystic, both experiment and revelation. Life ceases to be random. It becomes art. And as you walk back into the noise of the world, remember this. Coherence is contagious. Your calm becomes another's comfort. Your love becomes another's strength. In a universe made of energy, every act of awareness matters. You are not small. You are a luminous participant in the vast experiment of being. And the experiment is working. Because the quantum cure has already begun inside you. Presented by the Still Mind Studios, where science meets the soul. Subscribe for more mind-expanding audiobooks and read the full book on Amazon KDP.